What's going on, everybody? Happy Sunday afternoon. I do not remember the last time that we did a Sunday afternoon stream. I think way back in the day, if you go back before there was a Randy on the channel, before there was a Matt Whitfield on the channel, Tommy and I used to do the odd Sunday afternoon thing on the channel a long, long time ago. Well, if you've been paying attention to the news, a lot has happened. Some very good, and then some obviously tragic. And we're going to discuss it all on today's show, Force of Habit, sorry. The Halloween TV series. There was a big update from the head of Miramax, and I got to say, I think a lot of people are misunderstanding the update. So we'll give our take on that and what we believe is real and what we believe is not, along with honoring the legend who recently passed, the late, great Akira Toriyama. I think the thing he's most notable for is his Dragon Ball series, but that's not all he's done, and his impact has definitely been felt around the world, around the globe, if you will. So we'll talk about him and what he did. I have some thoughts on House of the Dragon. The wife and I are on a rewatch of that. We did episode 1 last night, so believe it or not, that was a lot of fun. And then we have some Star Wars stuff. Actually, if you're paying attention to social media, there's a chance a certain trailer might drop tonight. So be on the lookout for that. And we'll talk more about that and some wrestling talk to end the show. Without further ado, though, I'm going to have to redo the graphics on the fly here. First up, it's Tommy B, buddy. How's it going? Sunday afternoon. We haven't done one of these in a while.
Yeah, we used to do them a bit more. I don't think it's been that long, though. I think we did something in the last several months. But
I meant consistently.
Yeah, by no means consistently. But yeah, we used to do a lot more. It's good to be on when we get a chance.
Absolutely. Randy, how about you, man? How you doing?
It's been a bit of a weekend, but, things are looking up, and that's kind of really all that matters. And, this is a little bit impromptu, but I'm definitely ready to talk some wrestling and Akira Toriyama for sure.
Well, I desperately wanted to find a way to. Do I have something hanging down here? Oh yeah, I do. Sorry, I'm like, where the hell's this extra wire coming from? It's the headset. Yeah, I desperately wanted to get on as soon as the Halloween stuff dropped, and just wasn't going to be able to. What I thought was food poisoning was not food poisoning, and ended up running through our entire family. So kids come first. Dean and I were definitely set to come on, what was it, Friday the news dropped? Thursday or Friday? So we wanted to act on it. We just couldn't. And we tried to find a way to do it yesterday, and it just wasn't going to work out. So here we are today. You get Fandom Empire Live today. And then tomorrow you get House of the Empire. If you're a NASCAR fan, Colleague Nation. And then tonight in Haddonfield, followed by what's probably going to be a changed Legacy of Star Wars on Tuesday. We'll just blame Randy for that, though. Matt, what's going on, buddy?
I'm awake.
Damn, well, it better be. It's only 2:30 in the afternoon.
Well, I slept most of the day yesterday.
Football talk off the top for people. Really briefly, I know Tommy's celebrating, but I believe I heard on my drive home today, Mac Jones traded.
Mac Jones traded to Jacksonville for a late round pick.
Well, I guess that tells you where his value was at.
In the gutter. But we can't say too much about 7th round picks. That guy's quarterback was a 7th round pick.
Who's that guy's quarterback?
Randy's.
Who's his quarterback?
Brock Purdy.
Brock Purdy.
What's going on, Cole? Hey, we're talking to you at a reasonable time of day. It's probably only 7:30 where you are. Usually when you're on here, it's like the middle of the morning, which is nuts. And by middle of the morning, I mean 2-3 a.m. Definitely check out, by the way, Cole and James Grimm, Grimnox Productions, are working on Halloween Aftermath. They got an Indiegogo going right now. They're trying to hit their goal. Definitely go check it out. It's a must do. I still got to pick up my 4K over there. And then the Last Nightmare by Braden Timmons, it passed its goal too. So congrats to those guys. And I think they're doing an extended drive to be able to hit further markers. So be on the lookout for that as well. Which leads us kind of to our opening topic today, guys. Halloween news has finally dropped. After we got the announcement of the rights heading over to Miramax, who already co-own the film rights, it sort of went radio silent for, I guess the better part of 4+ months. If you pay attention to this channel, Dean and I said, and again, we're not doing this from, oh my God, we got, a bunch of inside sources. If you watch the channel, we have certain people on the channel at times, and those people are more connected than we are. And one of the things that we heard is to look out for the name Steph Hutchinson to be involved in the new Halloween project being headed by Miramax. Those of you that are unfamiliar with Steph Hutchinson, he did Halloween Night Dance, the comic book series. He also did Halloween, The First Death of Laurie Strode, issues 1 and 2. The third issue, very few eyes have got to see because it was never officially released. He also made pitches on the Halloween 3D, which was going to happen, and then a Halloween reboot trilogy, which Dean and I covered on this channel live on Tonight in Haddonfield. And basically, to catch you guys up to speed, is that production, or not that pitch that he made, was essentially, we're gonna go back to the beginning of Halloween. Don't necessarily put a year on it, but in this case we will. 1963, 1978, that 15-year span where everything happens. And what he does is he reuses legacy characters from those films in his trilogy. So Dr. Loomis Dr. Loomis is probably the focal point of his trilogy, but everything's not the same with this Loomis. This Loomis has a family. This Loomis has attachments. This Loomis is driven by different things and goes to certain lengths. Laurie Strode is killed in the first movie in this, where Annie survives. So it's like, yeah, we're going to reuse some of these characters, but it's not the Halloween that you know. It's not going to be the same story that we tell. It's going to be different paths that we go on. Now, to me, that's intriguing. So you keep your legacy characters alive. Now, I will say this. That story goes a very supernatural-esque route, where it becomes definitely not the Shape anymore and something more, right into the Samhain stuff, Samhain, if you will. And that's, I don't believe for a second that's the direction the TV series is going to go. But we were basically told they're going to have to build not necessarily a universe, because they're the ones that said they hope this spans off into a cinematic universe. But you need to build a community to get people invested in, to watch for 8 episodes, 10 episodes, 12 episodes, whatever that ends up being. So the idea of going back and okay, so Michael Myers is going to be involved, but Laurie Strode doesn't have the same path, doesn't have the same characteristics. Annie, Loomis, Bob, if you will, Michael's parents, what was their deal? What was going on in 1963? There was a bunch of stuff like that Steph Hutchinson went back and touched on. So we started connecting the dots, and then we had Dustin McNeil on here, who wrote the Taking Shape 1 and 2 books, who obviously, if you watch those streams, then he spoke very highly of Steph, but also alluded to some certain things. And hey, there's Dean. There's our guy, Dean. What's going on, man? There's room for one more. We're just beginning the Halloween discussion. Your call, dude. But in a nutshell, he reuses legacy characters, but he's not just doing a remake. You're not getting the 2024 version of 1978's Halloween. There are characteristics from that movie that obviously it will be built off of, or would have been built off of in Steph's reboot. But that's kind of where he was going with it. And then we get the announcement on, I guess Friday, from Miramax. And if you go through it, it basically paints you the exact same picture that Dean and I have been on here talking about for months. Not to say it's going to be that, because they could decide. I definitely wouldn't rule this out. They could decide, okay, we're going to give you the 1978 Halloween story stretched out in long form storytelling to give more character development, to have you more attached. Now, characters might not die the same way, characters might not be used the exact same way, but it might be very similar to the 1978 story. I don't believe they're going that route, but I wouldn't rule that out. And I've seen some people taking the report that came out and just assuming that it's going to be a sequel to 1978. And the way it's worded, I can understand why some people are drawing that conclusion, but to our belief, that's not the case at all. Tommy, I want to go to you first, man, because I feel like you're the newest Halloween fan, or horror fan even, of the four of us here. You got into these movies. You really enjoyed the original. So how do you feel about going back and telling a story in long-form storytelling based around the John Carpenter film, not a sequel to it, just elements of that film used in this story? And how would you feel about using some of those characters we knew, but in a different way?
I think I would prefer it, honestly. We just got off of a trilogy, which, varying with person, by movie, by any number of factors, had a varying reception. So I'm all about, give us something new. It's been a few years now, but being the newer fan of this franchise, not that I didn't grow up with some of the films, I'm going to take some slack and make a comment that will probably get me some hate. Yeah, I already see Matt shaking his head at me. I don't care about hearing about. I don't care to hear about bring me back this character from H4, H5, so on and so forth. A film that is umpteenth many years old, because that wouldn't work in 2024. It's possibly a hot take. I don't care. Give me something new. Give me something that looks like it was made in 2024, 2025, the 2020 decade. Give me something new. And honor the past, revere where everything came from. But let's just not rehash the past, right? What do we want to do? Live off nostalgia member berries here? Come on, give me something new.
Isn't that all any of these things do these days?
To an extent, right? I mean, I was just making a comment like an old timer the other day. Everything's got to be live action. Everything. They ran out of ideas, so they got to go back and make everything live action. I enjoyed the Avatar retelling for Netflix now. Another thing, if not everyone here is a super anime or anime fan, but Yu Yu Hakusho got one relatively recently, and they squeeze, and I mean squeeze, some major plot points from 2 different seasons and make it live action. All this is me going down a rabbit hole, getting away from the main topic, which is I'm all about for a creative reset. I don't have the same level of stock in a sequel to an original film that is, well, the original film is approaching 50 years old. Give me something new.
I'm going to skim through this article, and then we'll bring Randy and Matt into it, just so we can take a look at what exactly was said. What can we expect from the Halloween TV series, he asked. For starters, don't expect any kind of continuation to the storyline from David Gordon Green's Halloween trilogy, which we know is just absolutely breaking Dean Renner's heart. I'm sorry, man. I know how much you wanted your Halloween End sequel, and I know you're just, waking up from a long night, and we have the show tomorrow, but no worries, dude. You'll recover from the No Halloween Ends sequel, I'm sure. The foundation of the TV show, it is the original film, the John Carpenter movie, the characters of that film, and perhaps a group of characters that we haven't really focused on that much in recent film versions, or even a number of them, that to me screams Dr. Loomis. This show, like, we had Lori. Jamie Lee Curtis got her Halloween trilogy where she, she acted very well in it, whether you like the movies or not. Her performances were very good in those movies. But she had her time, and she's said again for the umpteenth time, she's done. I'm sure, when Halloween H50 movie comes out or whatever, she'll find a way to be in it. But yeah, to me, this screams Loomis. When you look at the wording specifically used here, and again, this isn't the wording of a reporter. This isn't the wording of a PA on set, or someone who's, helping oversee things, or someone involved in pre-production. This is the head of Miramax, the guy that was behind the bidding for the rights on the TV series. Again, I just want to reread that. The foundation of it is the original film, the John Carpenter movie, the characters of that film, and perhaps a group of characters that we haven't really focused on that much in recent film versions, or even in a number of them. To me, that reads Dr. Loomis. Randy, I want to bring you in. What do you think this sounds like? To me, I know there's people jumping with they're doing a sequel to the original. That is not what I assure you, that is not what they're doing. But what they are doing is going back to just the DNA of it, in my opinion. And whether they do something alongside it as a companion, I don't think we're getting another new Halloween 2. What do you think this is? And how does it sound to you so far?
Well, obviously they're going to take the solid foundation they've already got with the original film, which is great. You've got your setting, you got your players, and room to actually bring in new characters that may actually add to it. I'm fine with the idea of what they're calling a creative reset and kind of changing things up a little bit, almost kind of like having a multiverse, if you will. What would happen if events didn't go exactly as what we remember them. But what it helps is it also brings in a new generation that's going to be like, well, this is all I've ever seen or ever heard of, but something more creative and something different that I would assume, since it's, talking TV series here, you're going to get a little more attached to some of these characters. There's time for them to grow and breathe and bring something new that hasn't really been brought to more recent versions of Halloween, whether it's you're looking at, Rob Zombie or David Gordon Green, or even the sequels that followed, the Cult of the Thorn. And I'm all for it. I also think the idea of being a little more focused on Loomis and kind of bringing more to the character. I know Matt and I have discussed anything like in terms of like a Halloween sequel in general is like Loomis having a secret kid, basically, that no one knew about, because everything we ever saw with Loomis was just him being driven to do something about Michael. So I think the idea of humanizing Loomis a little bit, and with this, potentially here, because obviously they're not outright saying it, but that potential there speaks volumes of just like an untapped source of just, something that could really hit home and really bring in new fans and actually improve upon Loomis as a whole as a character, which I think would be really a good idea.
Matt, how about you, man? What do you take from all this?
I mean, I'm pretty. When it comes to Halloween, Randy and I are fairly on the same wavelength with our thoughts and everything. But I think I just hope it's more Loomis centric. I don't want to know about Bob and his parents. I don't. I mean, I don't want to. I mean, nobody's going to know about that. If you want to bring in the core three girls and go off of that, their lives, and then with Loomis too, then I think you have something there as far as like about characters we didn't know about or characters we knew about but they just never elaborated on. But I hope they do the movie first, and this sets up the TV show. I think more people are inclined for a movie right now than they are the TV show. So maybe we get the movie. If they're fast tracking it, I got a feeling they might be shooting by the end of the year. Like November, December. And then we get the movie next year. And then the show maybe a year later.
I mean, I think it depends what route they're going, right? Like, there's clearly cinematic wants here from the people in charge, and they have the ability to do it without even involving another party, might I add. You know, they can involve another party if they want, but Trancas and Miramax themselves together can distribute a Halloween movie without involving a Blumhouse or Universal or anyone else. So it's really a matter of what direction they're going to go. We've been saying for a while, it was really sounding like, at least from what we had heard, that a movie would come first. I got to tell you, I read this article from Hellwig, and I'm not sure that's the case. You know, I still think that it's a safe bet that that could happen, but the whole fast track thing, and I'm sure Dean's sick of hearing me saying it, is just a bad idea. Fast tracked Halloween movies do not fare well. Fast track any movies usually don't fare well. Just ask The Rise of Skywalker how that turned out. But like, it's a bad idea to fast track anything, in my opinion. And yet, Matt, your timeline, like, I suppose it's possible, you know, but if I had to guess, filming doesn't happen until late 2025, early 2026 for a late 2026 release.
That I don't know. I don't think so, because I don't think they're going to do that close to well, they might. Still puts it 2 years off of
It's not so much that, right?
Universe.
It's the 3-year window they have between now and the extension that they signed with the Writers Guild and the Directors Guild in Hollywood, right? So like, you want to get whatever you're doing out in that time window. It could be sooner than that. I just don't know if there's time to do that properly, right? Like, it depends. When they say they're already talking to people, I assure you there are already people with pen to paper or people typing things out.
Treatment and all that stuff.
Yeah, for sure. And like, again, we're not saying he's definitively involved, but one of the names that we were told was involved was Steph Hutchinson. And, you know, Dustin McNeil couldn't dispute that. And, you know, I asked Steph directly myself, and he didn't, you know, dispute it or outright shoot it down. So I wouldn't be shocked to see he's involved. Just the path they're taking here screams at least elements of what he's already done. When they're talking about focusing on other characters, though, I don't look at it as, well, let's focus on Bob's mom and dad. You know, not saying that can't happen, because I think you are going to get elements of that. Like, if you're going to spend 8, 10, 12 episodes in Haddonfield telling any sort of story, whether it's a companion for 78 or a reboot and retelling of the Halloween series, which is what I think they're doing, you need to feel attached to these people. You need to understand what's going on in their lives, which characters to root for, which characters not to root for. Like, you're not keeping someone's attention for 90 minutes. You're keeping someone's attention for a minimum 4 or 5 hours, right? Like, so like it needs to be compelling, or else it's not going to work. So I look at guys like, when you really look back at Halloween 1 or even Halloween 2, you know, oh my God, why am I Sheriff Brackett? Like, he's not.
That'd be a great character with that bounce off.
Those films. He's not. He's really. I think he gets a cameo in 2. He walks off at the beginning of 2. Unless I'm misremembering that. Dan, help me out here.
80?
81.
You're talking about that one? 81? No, he had a decent part in it till Lori got to the hospital, and then he was out of it.
So, I don't know. I haven't watched Halloween 2 in a long time. I was trying to last week, but that didn't happen. But yeah, I look at Brackett. He's a character to expand on. Loomis is a character to expand on. Marion, her legacy, not so much what happened with her in Halloween Kills, but Halloween H2O, her involvement in Halloween 1 as well. But also someone like Deputy Hunt, who was supposed to be used in Halloween Returns, which was almost went to filming. right? There's so many of those types of characters that you can do stuff with. And if you're a fan of Halloween Returns, like this definitely puts certain elements of that story back on the table as well. The question is, can you take Laurie Strode, have her in this if it's a retelling of the Halloween story, and kill her 45 minutes into episode 1? Right? Like, I think you can.
I agree.
think that's what a retelling is. It's not a remake, it's a retelling. Thoughts? Anyone? Randy? Tommy?
The only thing for me is I think you almost have to go movie first then show, because if you go do a show and then go do a movie and it's a completely different storyline, people aren't gonna, I mean, the core people are gonna watch it, but that audience that you want to get in the theater, the kind of audience who's just a general audience who, I'll go take my girlfriend and go see a horror movie tonight, not the me and the Randy and the Seans of the world when it comes to this. But I think you have to do the movie first. I think I'm not going to say suicide, but I just don't see how you can go movie, TV show, and then loop that into the storyline for a movie, and then go back to a TV show. It just it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. You have to do the movie first.
I don't know if you have to, but it would be foolish not to. But we're not the ones that get to make those decisions, right? Randy, we'll go to you first, man. Like, how do you feel about them reusing legacy characters, but in a different way, or do you think it needs to lean more towards what you were saying earlier, new characters? Because it doesn't really sound like the article says that. It says that they're going to use characters that haven't been used necessarily or focused on in a while, rather than, say, completely new original characters.
Well, see, using legacy characters is a very smart way to bring in your typical loyal fans who would be excited for something like this. What can happen with that is you can bring in and introduce characters that maybe they were in the background and just seen but not heard, or they just completely go off the rails and completely bring in brand new characters to try to interact with the legacy characters to give you, try to get you attached to them. Obviously, I feel like you can kill Laurie and still keep your core base of fans to watch this, just because, even though she is a big part of the series and there's a lot of people who would root for her, there's also, there's probably a lot of people out there who probably just didn't like the character in general. So this would give them something worth watching. Like, okay, she's dead. Now we get to see where things go now, because it's going to be different. It's not going to be the same old song and dance that they were accustomed to, at least you would think. As far as whether it's movie first to TV series or vice versa, in today's day and age with everything streaming and the fact that some movies get to be streamed the day of release, which is because I think with Peacock, they've done that with every single David Gordon Green's Halloween film.
Except for
they did for 2 and 3. They did for 2 and 3.
So it's like they've had that ready to just stream like right away practically. So this would be no different than, so whether it's a TV series or a movie, it'd be no different than being like, okay, let's get ready to stay home and watch the stream. So you really could go either way just because of that alone. I guess it depends on the deal they make in general once they get this really up and going, and everybody knows that, hey, this is coming out. We got a date. We've got everything, so it's going to be one of those where it's a wait and see. But I mean, I'm fine with a movie first and a TV series second. I'm fine with the TV series first, movie second. I mean, we're going to get that with, Mandalorian Grogu. God, please, they need to change that name. But anyway, yeah, I feel like there's a lot here they can do. And as long as they're smart about it and do it right and don't try to rush it, that's the key here. It doesn't matter what type of property it is. Just take your time, make sure it's a solid story that you have good character depth and development, and that you're just doing the legacy characters proud, but also making sure that you have enough in there that's going to intrigue your new audience that you're bringing in, that's going to be interested, potentially, possibly seeing Halloween for the very first time.
Tommy, I compare. I mean, they're not anywhere close to the same level of franchises in terms of popularity and what's generated money. But like, would you sign? Like, I feel like asking Halloween fans if they'd sign up for, okay, we're going to retell Halloween, but guess what? Loomis's story is going to be different. Laurie's story could be different. Is the equivalent of telling a Star Wars fan we're going to redo Star Wars, but guess what? We might kill Luke Skywalker in A New Hope. How do you think that's going to fare if that's the route they're going?
I think it'll get people to go see it. They might not go see it with an open mind, but they might enjoy it regardless. You know?
And you're on board for that even? I mean, I guess you don't have the attachment to Laurie's.
I already said it. Give me something new, you know? We could somehow there's no clear indication of what this means, what the story will look like. It's all up in the air, right? But we've talked about it on this channel before. They could tell a story of Michael Myers without a single Strode in it if they so chose. They could. They could use elements of the first movie to influence how they want to do this new retelling, but make it completely different. They could go any number of ways. And I think that people will check it out. Now, that doesn't mean you're not going to have people complain about it before they even see it and say, this is terrible. This is going to be the worst thing ever. I mean, Halloween 3 still gets crapped on, even by people who've never seen it before.
It shouldn't. It really shouldn't.
It's a good movie. I kind of wish they did something with that before they did something like this.
You had to know that we were going to go back to Michael Myers, though. Dean and I have been saying it for like half a year now, where it's like, if you're going to pay, you know, however much they paid to obtain the TV rights, you're going to use the most valuable asset.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how people would feel about that. Like, I think it's easy to kill, you know, some character named Melissa in episode 1 that you're following closely in a Halloween TV series. But guess what? We get into an 8-episode series or season 1, and it ends up being Laurie Strode bites the dust. Be very curious to see how many viewers are like, no, I'm done. F this, because of being a traditionalist, or how many people are actually open to a retelling of this story with these characters. I know I'm for it. You already have the other story. You don't need the other story part 2 or even part 3 or part 4 at this point. Bloody hell.
Here, we're going to retell the same story, but this time we're going to make the woman lead a redhead. Same name.
I think switching the POV of where that story is going is definitely a thing that they can do. We'll have to wait and see what happens here. Again, the fast track thing worries me. I am curious to see if we'll get word on if Steph Hutchinson is or is not involved in this project. Like I said, we'd heard that he was, but nothing official's come out. And I don't think Steph's in position to be the showrunner of this thing, just so we're clear. I don't think he has the experience to do that. But I do think in today's Hollywood, you need a writer's room. That's a must now. So definitely a spot for him. I just hope they have the right people involved. And if you're going to go back and tell a story in 1978, really commit to it. Let's see a period piece. You know, let's spend some money and make these towns in this actually feel like 1978, feel like 1963, which I think has the potential for a lot of storytelling once again here. So, you know, I really want a period piece, but I would not be shocked to see them just modernize the story. Again, I think some people read this article from Deadline and just assume, okay, we're definitely going back to 1978, and that's where this story is going to take place. But I wouldn't jump to that conclusion yet. I think that would be Awesome. I just don't know if they're going to commit to that. That costs money to do, right? Like to do it properly and make it convincing, it costs money to be able to do that. And I assure you, they're not trying to make this Halloween TV series for the same money that made Halloween Ends. They're going to try to do it on the cheap. That's what they're about.
That was the funny thing, because when you sent me the message about that, what was the first thing I said to you? 1963 ?
Oh, for sure. And
Yeah.
why not? There's so much mystery behind Judith's death. You can spend more time with Judith before the death happens, right? Like there's all sorts of different possibilities here. It'd be foolish to not redo 1963. I don't know if it's going to get the exposure that it deserves, but the opportunity is there. Dean says Loomis would be in play, as would Brackett, Hunt, Charlie Bowles, possibly Annie and Linda, potential addition of new characters in that world we haven't known or met yet. I agree. And Dean also says 63 is now in play big time. I think so. I think 63, I think the premise of what Steph Hutchinson did with his reboot trilogy, and I think Halloween Returns are all things that you look at with what they're doing here as possible inspirations of the direction that some of this is going. So it's inspiring to begin. It's an inspiring start anyways. I like what we're hearing. But again, if you're a Star Wars fan, you can hear all you want until you actually see the product. You just don't know, right? So anyways, yay or nay from what the article has said, guys, and then we'll move on from Halloween. Are you guys for what it sounds like they're doing here? Start with Tommy, man. Sounds like you're on board with what they're doing, but giving it your stamp of approval, not based off our speculation, simply what was in the article.
Yeah. I mean, regardless of what it is, I mean, it's what we're going to get, right? I mean, I'll see it regardless. I'm very much just, I'll say it one last time. Give me something different. Give me something new.
And different for you does include something different with characters we already know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's cool. Matt, you liking what it sounds like so
far? I want
to
jump in real quick and do specify. I did say earlier, I don't care about characters from X movie, X. When I was saying that, I was specifically referring to, some of the sequels down the line. I don't need to see. What was the name of the character from H5 everybody hated? Was it
Tina?
Tina, yeah. Tina. Yeah, I don't need to see Tina again. Tina.
Love Tina.
She good.
You told me he loved Tina. I don't get it now. You said that was his favorite character from all the Halloween movies.
I don't need to see, characters from all the umpteen sequel movies. They had time. So we're good. Sorry, Matt. Please continue.
Oh, you're fine. I'm just gonna say yes. I'm very much liking what I've read. I'm on board, but I still would love to see what they could do with the sequel to 4. There's a lot of potential there.
I know. And hey, huge Halloween 4 guy. My favorite Halloween movie.
I know.
I firmly believe it's the best Halloween movie. But when you look at the way the business works, and how you make new products now, it just doesn't make sense unless you decided my Halloween series is going to go back and tell 8 different 1-hour stories, and maybe one of those 1-hour stories ends up being a what if about Jamie Lloyd. Something like that could work, but in terms of it getting its own series or its own movie, I've never really believed that was going to be the case. I wouldn't rule out Danielle Harris's involvement though.
Yeah, I definitely agree. She's in it some way somehow. Yeah, but what was I going to say? It was if not a major motion picture, a fan film.
Oh well, I mean, hey, look what James Grimm's doing with Halloween Aftermath right now. Look what Braden Timmons is doing. Look what the guys did with Never Hike Alone, Never Hike in the Snow.
Oh God, yes, yeah.
I think James Grimm and what they're doing is the closest thing Halloween fans are seeing to that level of production. I think if Danielle Harris really, really wants to go back as Jamie Lloyd, it's probably going to have to be like that. I think that's more likely than an actual official major motion picture film or TV series. I know some people are going to hate me saying that. I'd love to see it. I'm just being real here. So, Dean says, let's meet Mr. Nichols, the hardware store owner. Sure, why not? We'll spin it all off about him. All right, we're going to move on. That is going to do it for our Halloween discussion for now. If anybody wants to bring it back to Halloween, you can always send in a super chat and support the channel, or we might take some Q&A at the end here. House of the Dragon, Matt, who doesn't seem to want to take the time to watch Westeros related projects, given the chat he left the other day. I had a chance to sit down last night for the first time ever and see House of the Dragon in 4K, Dolby Vision, Dolby Atmos, surround sound. And it was a cinematic experience. It is the first time I've watched episode 1 since it debuted. I think I watched it the night it debuted and then the following morning. And it was a spectacle. Like, it was 1 hour of just, when you think of the top tier quality filmmaking that you can have on the small screen, House of the Dragon is it. And what that crew is doing is it. It held up. I loved it. I was worried that I was going to watch it and be like, oh, this isn't holding up like Game of Thrones holds up. And I got to say, I didn't feel that way at all. I was enthralled with what I was seeing. And in my opinion, House of the Dragon is a legitimate masterpiece. Again, I've only rewatched the first episode. We're hoping to rewatch episode 2 tonight. But it's just, they hit on every mark, guys. Like, if you have like principles of what you want to see in a high quality project, whether it's big screen, small screen, cinematography is flawless in House of the Dragon. Okay, it's just fantastic. Sound design in it is incredible. The acting in it, those shows are based off its acting, right? So acting and writing. It makes me jealous though, because as much as I love Thrones and Westeros and House of the Dragon and even Halloween, Star Wars is my first true love in terms of fandom. It will always be that, regardless of them releasing projects that I'm not overly fond of. And I look at what House of the Dragon did and I go, why can we not pull our heads out of our asses with Star Wars and give us something the quality of that? Now, I get it. The writing is not going to be as adult as that. That's a given. But in terms of quality, creativity, the shot selection, how to make something look way different, even though you're in the same spot, something Star Wars could desperately learn from, given that they use stagecraft. It's just incredible. I don't know if any of you guys have had a chance to go back and watch House of the Dragon, Tommy or Randy, but I don't remember either of your thoughts on the series. So maybe briefly tell everybody what you thought of the series and if you're looking forward to season 2 or not. But again, yeah, the only thing Star Wars has done anywhere close to House of the Dragon or even the later seasons of Game of Thrones in terms of production quality is Andor. Andor is not terribly far off, but it's still not the level of those other productions.
I enjoyed House of the Dragon. I mean, the main thing I did not enjoy about it is the releasing at 9 p.m. Eastern. I did not enjoy that. I would have preferred if they launched it, early one morning or something like that, midnight. That was a pain in the butt, trying to stay up, watch it when you have to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Otherwise, you get spoiled.
Oh, yeah, that's a show that if you have any social media presence.
Not even. I'll get spoiled at work.
Yeah. No, water cooler talk, right? Randy, where are you with House of the Dragon, man? You and I have never really had an in-depth conversation about House of the Dragon. How did you feel about it? And just, are you excited for the second season?
So obviously, I was one of those people that it's like, 9 o'clock. I know where I'm going to be. I mean, I love Game of Thrones, and this first season of House of the Dragon was pretty damn impressive. I was really blown away by a lot of the visuals and how much time they put into the characters. Obviously, you get to learn so much about the Targaryens in general, especially, and you're just kind of going, okay, now I get it. Now I see why this family is a bit batshit crazy. But yeah, just the overall, and I guess I would say the best way to describe it, like the Shakespearean themes in it, like just the whole thing that you could see how everything was brought to a head, and at the end of the first season, like I'm just kind of going, okay, thanks for leaving it off there. Now I have to wait how many years for season 2 before I get to see everything pop off the way I was expecting it to. So I mean, I'm just stoked for season 2. I can't wait. There was definitely a bunch of shocking moments that, is synonymous with anything Game of Thrones related, really. It wouldn't be, anything Game of Thrones like if it didn't have those moments. That's one thing I've definitely learned watching the series is I'm like, yep, this feels like Game of Thrones. This feels like peak Game of Thrones. That was the key there. It felt like peak Game of Thrones to me. And that really just helped enhance my enjoyment of the first season as a whole.
Yeah, I think it really hit on every level. I also think like if you're watching on the right setup, streaming versus physical, I have the 4K set for House of the Dragon, and there is a difference because we tested the first one out, about the first 10 minutes on streaming, which up here is Crave, down there I believe it's Max. Is that what it's called now? Max, not HBO Max?
It's Max now, yep.
Again, it's not as bad as how badly Disney Plus compresses things, but there's a visual difference and an audio difference. And if Dean was on here, he could geek out about all those technical shit that I still am learning about. But it was a real cinematic experience and really fun to enjoy. Like you can rewatch an episode of Seinfeld or Everyone Loves Raymond or whatever and be like, oh, cool, I'm watching this and listening to it in surround sound. It's not the same as a project that's actually designed to be played like that, right? So like it does enhance your experience. And also like it wasn't done around here, but one of the things Game of Thrones was doing in their later seasons is they were doing season premieres and season finales in movie theaters. I never got to experience one of them. I don't know if House of the Dragon did it after the first episode. I know they did episode 1 in a movie theater. But if you have the chance to see a project like this on a scale like that, you should. They're shot that way. They're basically shot to be movies, but they put them on the small screen anyway. So, anyways, we'll shift gears here though. House of the Empire is live tomorrow, where we have all sorts of Westeros content that we will be covering on there. Also, check out our Legacy of Westeros YouTube channel. Head on over there and subscribe to keep up to date with all the short form content we do over there. Which leads us to some unfortunate news. I'm scrolling social media the other day and I see the passing of Akira Toriyama. And there's been a few of these that have hit recently in the last couple of years where someone passes and it's like, you realize like the impact, not just that they had on your life, or not just the impact that it had on everyone's lives, because obviously there's a lot of people that pass away that have an impact on thousands of people or even millions of people. I just think for me, I was so heavily invested in Dragon Ball, specifically Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball GT, the movies. Eventually, in my later life, it led to Dragon Ball Super and some of these newer movies that we've gotten. But the impact that this guy had on my life is just, it kind of hurt, to be honest, to read at first. Because you realize, wow, I've invested so much time into what he has provided, not just for myself, but so many other people, that it obviously sucked to read. And to my understanding, I think Tommy messaged me saying that it had actually happened, like it wasn't that day, that it happened like a week prior, and it was just getting out that it had happened. But I guess, yeah, just maybe talk a little bit about the impact that Akira Toriyama had on you, whether it's Dragon Ball or any of his other works that he did. I know there's another big one people gravitate to. I wasn't really into that, but like for me, next to George Lucas, like this is it. Like it was Star Wars, then Dragon Ball for me, even before Halloween. So this is kind of like the equivalent of losing George Lucas. It sucked, it hurt, and yet his impact on my life was, it still rings true today. My oldest kid's into it. I'm about to introduce my youngest son to Dragon Ball. I think he's at an age where that might be okay. The non rated versions, or the ones with stuff, whatever. Randy, I'll go to you first, man. We see you have the background up there.
Yep.
Your thoughts on hearing the news and the impact that he had on your life with just various things he did.
So I learned about it because I read what you had posted. When you had posted it in the chat, and I'm in the middle of playing a game with a couple of friends, and I just sat there and was like, I was no fucking way. This is bullshit. There's no, and my friends were like, what are you talking about? I was like, hold on. I go to Google and I'm just like, and there's all these media outlets just announcing it. And I'm like, and so, and that's when I was like, yeah, you're not going to believe this, but I was like, Akira Toriyama passed. And Matt, Jeff, and my friend Jeff just was speechless for like 10 minutes. He couldn't even formulate a sentence. That's how much of an impact it was because he's a huge Dragon Ball fan as well. And I just sat there and I'm like going, what do we get? It's like, damn, that I didn't know even what to think, what to feel. It just didn't feel like, there's still times now, even though it's been a few days, where I don't think it's fully sunk in yet. I mean, I've gone to different content creators that I usually follow for different games and things like that. And, they talked about his passing as well. And I guess it did come out that it had happened like a week or so prior to them releasing the information. So the family had time to grieve and have the funeral and things of that nature. And I understand that, they're especially considering how private of a person he was. And seeing all these tributes has, definitely tugged at the heartstrings too. I remember, for me, I didn't really get into Dragon Ball until my 20s, when my ex's kids were watching it, and I was like, oh, all this is about fighting, blah, blah, blah. And then I kind of sat down and started watching it and going, wow, these characters actually have some depth to them. This is actually kind of cool. There's a lot more to these characters than I thought it was. It's not just about fighting. And as time went on, I just kind of got sucked into it. And I can definitely say I've watched the entire series, from Dragon Ball all the way through Super, and I think most of the movies as well. But yeah, just thinking about it and seeing the touching tributes, it hurts. It does hurt, because you don't realize sometimes just how much profound impact someone has on your life until they're not there anymore. And, I don't know exactly what that means for the future. And it's going to be difficult to grasp when the time comes to realize that, no more manga, no more anime, that considering what he's done for anime. I mean, to give you an idea, just, for people who don't know, it's like, think about the reach of Dragon Ball as a whole. You have a Goku float in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. That's how much of a cultural impact Dragon Ball has had around the world. Not just Japan, not just the US. Look at soccer. Look at all the different countries who do Dragon Ball things, or the players who do the fusion dance after they score, or just there's different things that, in their own way. Wrestling's the same way. You have wrestlers who come out with gear inspired by Dragon Ball. It's like it's the cultural impact is huge, and it's a heartbreaking loss for fans of the anime. It really is. Again, it's going to take time to process and actually feel like, okay, I've fully accepted it, but it's like, man, I wish the Dragon Balls were real. At least we could bring the dude back, but that's just, it's just one of those things, I guess. Hopefully, I don't know about Tommy, but I mean, I know with you, like you were saying, how much he's touched your life and how much he's really helped influence a lot of the things you like. I mean, that's that's really all we can, all we can do now is live on, help him live on through our memories and how much we enjoy what he created.
So what I'm hearing is the legacy of Dragon Ball. One thing, Tommy, how about you, man? Dragon Ball is one of the first things outside of Star Wars that you and I bonded over. What was his impact on your life?
I can remember watching some of the original episodes of Dragon Ball Z back in the day on like public access television or something like that. That's when I first saw it because it was on and off. They were trying really, really hard to get Dragon Ball content to land in the West. As we all know, Dragon Ball, the original series, did not land for a very long time until I was like preteens, I think. Dragon Ball Z hit first, as crazy as that is. And, I'm over the years on and off just thinking about it. I grew up with it, right? Grew up with DBZ, watching Dragon Ball, same thing, Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball after schools, kind of like a special thing on a basically daily occurrence. GT to a lesser extent, but it was still there. As an adult, I love Dragon Ball Super. I love the newer, I think it's the newest movie, Superhero. I went and I actually I had a day I took time off work. I think it was a dentist appointment or something. I got to go kill some time. Went to a movie theater that's around the corner, and I was the only person in the theater. And I got my own basically private screening of that film. That film today is one of my favorite anime films today. And it's so new. And that's not recency bias at this point. I can easily say at this point.
It's over a year ago now. Yeah.
That is one of my favorite films. This franchise, it's not as much of a, it's not always seen as anime to the same extent as something lesser known in the West, even just slightly, just because of the cultural impact that it has had. But it's one of the everyone's go-tos. This franchise has been a major impact on me. It's going to continue for the future. As far as future stuff, we already know there's a new series coming. That the
Which
work
is involved with.
Yeah. But I don't think we're going to see any slacking behind in new content in this franchise, but I think there's going to definitely be a hole in that his influence will no longer be there. I could be wrong on this, but I don't believe his influence was there for GT.
No, they did GT without him.
Yes, and fandom recognizes that very quickly, pretty often.
There are elements of GT that I still really, really enjoy. There's a lot of I don't.
Yeah, it's not all garbage, but people will point out, Toriyama wasn't involved.
Yeah. Before we move on, maybe we'll do this for fun. We'll definitely come back to Dragon Ball in a future discussion. Give me your favorite Dragon Ball saga and why. Your favorite Dragon Ball saga and why. I'm assuming Matt's not a big Dragon Ball guy, so we'll get him involved in wrestling when we get there. Star Wars is no long one. Favorite Dragon Ball saga and why, Randy?
Oh, it's a tough one because
favorite Dragon Ball Z saga and why?
Okay, Z saga. So I will go. See, it's a toss-up between Cell Saga and Majin Buu Saga, but I'm gonna go with Majin Buu Saga because it gave me the definitive Vegeta moment that actually made me care about the character. His self-sacrifice to try to eliminate Buu for non-selfish reasons. It was like the first time an anime actually ever elicited an actual emotional response out of me. because I mean that and once that happened, I was forever like a Vegeta fanboy after that. So it's like I've ever since then he's been my favorite character. I've gotten to meet Christopher Sabat, which is really cool. So it's just yeah, that moment right there is kind of what solidified that for my favorite saga.
And then you found out that Goku faked it. Yeah, man, Vegeta gets the short end of the stick a lot. Tommy, how about you? What's your answer?
How are we defining saga? Because
To me, the
have what
sagas are the Saiyan saga, the Frieza saga, the Cell saga, the Buu saga. Obviously, if you want to get more specific, then you have the Saiyan saga.
Yes, because
you have
saga, if you look at the wiki, it's very small.
Yeah, you have like
It's
the
very minute with
Namekian
this.
saga, Frieza saga,
Kid
Garlic
Buu saga, yeah.
Future Trunks saga, Android. So yeah, it depends how specific you want to get.
When I think of Dragon Ball Z and I think of some of my favorite memories of Dragon Ball Z, maybe it's just the time where it was when I was growing up. I specifically go to the Buu saga. And you want me to get even more specific? I don't even know if it's because it's my favorite, but I enjoy the Buu saga pre-Buu. We're talking the Great Saiyaman stuff, the World Tournament stuff. We're talking the lead up to Buu. And then Buu comes. And of course, we get a lot of great stuff with Buu as well, all the way leading up to the culmination of DBZ. But when I think of some great memories,
You like seeing little girls get turned into chocolate bars, huh?
I mean, I just said, yeah, I guess that is it. That is part of it. I really enjoy the tournaments. The tournaments are one of my favorite part of Dragon Ball. A lot of people, oh, another tournament. Oh, here we go.
That's me for Dragon Ball Super because it's way overdone. They should
it is way overdone in Super. Yes,
more life stakes in Super, and they stopped.
They did a little bit too much.
They stopped Super right before in the manga anyway. The next one after where they ended, like obviously there was technically life stakes in the last tournament. We all knew how that was going to end. I mean, at least in my opinion, it was predictable. But the next one in the manga ends up being this, I forget what his name is, but this like big bull looking guy.
Moro.
It ends up being like an actual, oh, we need to fight for our lives thing. And we haven't even gotten it and may never get it.
Yeah, we may not. I don't know why they've chosen to skip over it. It's a very interesting choice.
But yeah, I don't know. For me, I go Cell Saga. I actually don't like the Buu Saga. I think it's a weak ending to Dragon Ball. I like Buu basically right up to the point Randy mentioned, Vegeta's self-sacrifice. And then I feel like they dangle the cookie in front of Gohan so many times and then make him useless and irrelevant. And really, at least in old canon that leads into GT, he's basically irrelevant from that point on. I felt like it dragged on too much and the Buu stuff just gets a little over the top. But I don't mind the Great Saiyaman stuff at all. I love the World Tournament stuff. I loved how that was shaping up. I hate that we didn't get to see like more of that. And like, yeah, we got a Vegeta and Goku fight, but like, did we? Did we really? Because kind of seems like we didn't.
We didn't get the full ending of that tournament as we should have. Yeah, I know what you're saying. It's how the story flows.
It would have been cool just to like. I know they're probably like. I get it for kids. They want to see the flashy transformations and all the flashy shit on their screen now. But like, legitimately, give me Goku and Vegeta in that tournament ring in an actual fight, and let me see who wins. Probably Goku because he's more trained for that sort of thing. But I would, it'd be cool to get a world tournament like that from start to finish. In the modern days where there isn't transformations and a guy like, Krillin or Yamcha or Tien can go up against them in that sort of confines. And to me, they missed the opportunity there several times. So, but the Cell Saga is my favorite. And more specifically, though, basically from when Future Trunks shows up all the way to probably to right before Cell hatches out of his egg there. is probably my favorite time period of Dragon Ball Z. It's just such good shit. Anyway, obviously our thoughts are with Mr. Toriyama's family, more so than just the fandom. Well, we did lose obviously a legendary creator. A lot of people lost something far closer than that to them. So thoughts are with them during this difficult time. Which leads us back to Star Wars here. So we're going to talk Star Wars, and then we're going to take about a 2-minute break, and then we'll do wrestling, which I know Tommy can't wait to talk wrestling. No, he's not sticking around for wrestling. This just came out. This is today. This is fresh. Daisy Ridley, Star Wars New Jedi Order movie could shoot in late 2024 or early 2025, according to the actress.
We'll see.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too. She goes on to say, I think it could be this year. It could be, but I'm not sure. I think, to be honest, the writer's strike has obviously delayed quite a lot of things. So the intention was later this year. Hopefully it will be. Otherwise, top of next, I would imagine. A lot of hopefuls there. And I mean, she would have some sort of idea what's going on. But I got to tell you, with a lot of the shit that's going on at Lucasfilm and Disney and the repositioning and of things, I just don't know. I don't. I wouldn't be shocked to see that Filoniverse movie move up and take that movie spot and give that movie more development time. I know she wants to get it done, but the last we heard, Stephen Knight was supposed to do another pass at it, and that apparently never happened. So that means it's pretty just sort of as is right now. And obviously their focus is turned towards The Acolyte, which is supposed to have a trailer debut anytime now. Acolyte social media accounts went live, or were made public anyways, last night and the day before. So you can find it on X and Instagram and other places. I know I think Oscars is tonight. I know there's a rumor that it could drop with it, which would be a pretty intriguing place to drop it. Many of eyeballs on that. Lucasfilm, not just Lucasfilm, Disney is really high on The Acolyte in terms of the Disney Plus TV shows that are coming out this year. The Acolyte is getting the most focus and the most attention and the biggest marketing budget of them all. So to spend money on, having an Acolyte Oscars thing, that's very possible. I would love for that to happen. And it's that type of series, right? The Acolyte is supposed to be closer to Andor than it is any of the other series. So it's definitely a high production quality type series. Guys, your thoughts on the new Jedi Order film here? Sorry, tangent there a bit, but just thoughts on if we're going to see this as quickly as Daisy Ridley thinks we will. Obviously, we know the Mandalorian Grogu, which I agree with Randy's sentiments earlier, changed that fucking title. Probably not going to happen, but is set for May 2016, so slightly over 2 years from now. And then December.
May 2026.
2026, sorry.
Not 2016.
What do you got, DeLorean over there? You go back in time and see something we didn't?
Yeah, 2026, sorry. I wanted to go back to Revenge of the Sith opening night from the year before that. Anyways, 2026, yes, May 2026. And then in December 2026, right now it's believed that would be the Rey movie. But I sit here and I look at schedules and timing and go, that might be the Filoni movie, not the Rey movie. We'll have to wait and see. But your thoughts on this, and guys, do you think they should just hit the pause button and go, you know what, let's get this thing right instead of passing it on through 3 different people, and one guy doesn't like the direction it's going, and another person thinks he's being handcuffed by Lucasfilm, and then Stephen Knight basically doesn't even do what he signs up to do. It just seems like the typical nonsense from here, and I would rather see them put the brakes on it than put another Rise of Skywalker out.
What I think might be happening right now. Have you guys ever heard of the phrase before, is that money burning a hole in your pocket? We heard of that before? Yeah. So that was something I was told a little bit as a kid. You want to go buy the newest toy or whatever, right? I think that's what's happening right now with Disney with this brand. They haven't gotten a movie out in a very long time. I think they want to rush something, and we all know what happens when they try to rush Star Wars projects. They probably don't. They don't even release. They get canceled because they get screwed up so much, or they just decide we don't like this anymore, so we're going to shelf it. If you were to ask me if I think they should pause, I would say taking things slow is honestly the best chance we have of actually seeing something come out. Having said that, I almost want to say if they don't get something out relatively soon, it's going to, for better or for worse, basically be like The Force Awakens again. It's going to be like having to reactivate the franchise. Maybe to a lesser extent.
I think you're going to run into the problem that they ran into in 2015 and 2016. Is you had The Force Awakens come out, and then you had Rogue One come out, and the average fan, not the diehard Star Wars fan, just the average moviegoer, was going, wait, so is this Rey's mom? Is this Rey? What's going on here? And I think doing things all over the timeline is just a bad idea. I hope they find a way to connect it all. That'd be great. I'm not sure that's their plan. But it's not a great idea. And I wish I could say I have a lot of confidence in what they're doing. I am hopeful on some of the video game stuff. And I'm really hopeful on the accolades. Super high on it.
Well, they're probably going to age her up anyway, right?
Right. Well, yeah, they'll have to because
she's going to be a little older. I think we all understand that, but they're probably not going to say this is like 2 or 3 years later. This is going to be 10, 15 years.
It's 15. That's the story. That's what Kathleen Kennedy said. Anyway, it's 15 years after the end of Rise of Skywalker.
Makes sense.
So we'll see what way they end up going with that. But anyways, don't miss it. The Legacy of Star Wars, Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern. I might be on here before then doing a trailer reaction. We'll see who's available to that. But it could be an Acolyte show, or it could be a solo watch-along. We'll have to wait and see. But the Legacy of Star Wars, Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern. Check it out. You can join Randy, myself, Tommy, and Johnny on Select Tuesdays. Or at least Tommy's on Select Tuesdays. The rest of us are every Tuesday. Tommy, thanks for doing this, man. It was a lot of fun. I know you're sad that you can't talk wrestling today, which I'm heartbroken.
I think I'll be all right.
Oh, well, yeah, okay.
Yeah, nice being on with you guys. Hope you all have a great rest of your weekend.
Take it easy.
Yeah, you too, man.
Tommy here at Fandom Empire or at tbrad1650, where he'll give you all of his interesting hot wrestling takes. Or he won't. Fellas, that brings us to some wrestling talk. Randy, you wanted to put wrestling on the agenda tonight, so I'm going to hand the reins over to you here for a bit and let you introduce a few AEW things you wanted to talk about, and then I'll probably introduce some WrestleMania things towards the end, but we got 10 or 15 minutes here to chat some wrestling, so let's do it.
So lately, obviously, we've seen AEW's trying to get back to where they were when they had peaked early in their lifespan. Obviously, last year we got the signing of Will Ospreay once his New Japan stuff was done. First match he comes in with Konosuke Takeshita, I'll get it out eventually, was absolutely lights out. Amazing. I was blown away by just how amazing that match was. Then we get him on Dynamite, and let me say, the new intro and the look and feel, they got something going there. I think they did a really good job with that new opening and just the new look at the stage and everything. The presentation feels fresh and new, and I'm digging that. But his match with Kyle Fletcher on Dynamite, good God, is this the type of stuff we're gonna get out of an Osprey match every go? And then to have the tease of Danielson coming out, I mean, Osprey versus Danielson at Dynasty next month, that's a dream match right there. But also we get the reveal of, which we all knew he had signed, but Kazuchika Okada, the Rainmaker. And I'm gonna say this, and I'll preface this with, I think they did it right. They did it. Bringing him in as a heel is a very smart way to give something fresh and new to the audience who've always seen him as more of a face than anything else. Because the dude behind the scenes, he's a really good dude. He's a goofball. He just loves to mess around and have fun. So to have him come in as this type of character, aligning with the Bucks, is great. And lastly, this next week is the potential, which should be the introduction of Mercedes Moné. I think with the impact that these three are going to bring is really going to help AEW really kind of I don't want to say take the next step, but kind of get back to where they were at one point. And so I'm really curious as to your thoughts, if you agree that with the addition of these three, how much it's really going to help improve the product overall.
I'll let Matt follow up after I go here, because I'm probably going to introduce a new element to this. This is what I'll say. I'll preface this by saying, yes, I'm a CM Punk fan, so everybody should know that before I say what I'm about to say. That way people can just accuse me of being a hater or whatever. No, this is not going to change their North America impact at all. And it isn't. And it's shown. And the ratings are continuing to go down. There is nothing that is going to save this product with the average going viewer, in my opinion. For the diehards, it's great. And you know what? If the diehards are able to produce enough numbers to make it profitable, to get them a new TV deal or a streaming deal or whatever it is that they have coming, then that should be all that matters. And I think people should just focus on the dream matches that they're getting in ring. But if the goal here is to get back to like where they were when CM Punk debuted, sort of thing, in terms of like numbers and North America mainstream popularity, it is never happening. I'm sorry. It's not like they're down. They're not down just like 100,000 people. They're down almost like 300,000 people normally from where they were back then. And it's just, I'm not a diehard. I was a long time ago, and then I got out, and then Punk coming back got me back. Well, that's a lie. AEW starting got me back in. And then the pandemic happened, and I just wrestling without a crowd. That's not for me. Sorry. Kudos to everybody, though, that would go out there and entertain every week. That had to be hard as hell, not having the uplift of the crowd, even though it's only 40% full most of the time. And like that's a real problem. They showed Collision during the Okada thing. There's pictures of it. And I know Collision was on Thursday this week, I think. It was taped. It's not just hard cam. It's they got to start booking smaller venues. Make your product look better. Don't get married to the way stage looks. You are having 40% capacity in venues. It's ridiculous. And I don't give two shits about Okada, if I'm being honest. I don't know him. The diehards know him. I think the only match of his I seen, was he the guy that went up against Danielson at
Forbidden Door?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, no. Did Okada do anything at All In? Oh, sorry. Yeah, All In.
I don't think so.
Mm-mm.
No. So
no, he's been basically featured on the Forbidden Door pay-per-views.
Okay, so yeah, that's probably the only match I've seen him. It was the Toronto one, right? That he did.
Yeah, because they did have him come in prior to the pay-per-view and do some stuff on like Dynamite and Collision and things like that.
Yeah, and again, like people are going to be like, "Oh, well, he's negative Nancy." It's not negative Nancy. I think if you're enjoying the product, you should enjoy the product and simply stop worrying about what the TV ratings are. Because if Tony Khan's dad doesn't pull the ropes out on him at any point, then they can probably afford to take losses. You know, If that's what they're passionate about doing, let them do what they're passionate about doing and enjoy the product that you get. But if I'm not saying Randy was doing this to prove a point, but like I think if people keep saying, well, let's get back to where we were in 2021, even though it came right out of Tony Khan's mouth, it's not happening, guys. Mercedes Monet is not going to make it happen either. We'll come back and have this conversation in 2 months. The ratings have not improved, and get the Young Bucks off TV. Like, obviously, they're not going to go right off TV, but seriously, you want to talk about people that have no interest in watching them? Go look at what their segments do. They always lose viewers, and not just some. We're talking in the 6 digits when they come on. Their shit doesn't do anything for me. I seen the Sting last match, not live, but I seen it after the fact. They did a great job for selling for him. I think the Darby spot was really stupid, and someone could have got killed. And to blame fans for not being aware that real glass splatters at them while not knowing it was going to happen at ringside is ridiculous. We've all seen when people come out, there's children on the guardrails too. If that was my kid, and my kid got glass in his leg, AEW could go fuck themselves as far as I'm concerned. It's like there's so much unethical bullshit happening with this company. And I know people will call me a snowflake or being soft or whatever. But when your owner comes out and says, yeah, well, it's just an understanding that when you're sitting close or you're sitting ringside at a wrestling event that you need to be prepared for all things. I don't think an 8-year-old child who was sitting there at ringside and had glass, hit off of him or whatever. I don't think you can hold the 8-year-old child responsible for that or his parent. So on an ethical level, I think it's bullshit what has been going on. But on an on-screen level, I've enjoyed what I've seen lately quite a bit. I don't care for the Bucks. I haven't cared for the Bucks since before any of the Punk shit happened. They just don't do it for me. Even what they're doing now is the same fucking thing in some element. It wasn't when they came back as just like the EVPs, but then they're coming out in like the boxing rigged up gear or whatever, and the Ric Flair knockoff gear or whatever it is in their entrances, and their demeanor in the ring. Like, you could have legitimately come back and been the business characters that aren't the fuck around guys and been heels. I don't think they're viable as heels at all.
Nope.
So it doesn't work for me at all. But in terms of a lot of the in-ring product that's happening over there, there's a lot of great stuff happening over there. I think people just need to stop worrying about if they're going to beat WWE or what rating they're getting. If Warner Brothers is fine with it, and if Tony Khan and I forget his dad's name are fine with paying the bill, just enjoy the product that you get. That's all that matters at the end of the day. Enjoy it while it's here. Maybe it'll be here for forever. Maybe it'll be here 5 or 10 more years. You don't know, right? Enjoy it. Let's worry less about ratings, because at the end of the day, I don't think they're going to be that harmed by it. I think the number that they get is still really good for what they do. I just don't think it's ever going to be much more than that.
Well, and I think the idea here is also, and I'm going to agree in the sense of, at this point, don't worry about trying to beat WWE. Don't do it. Just be a solid alternative, and that's kind of what they need to be. They need to be, if WWE doesn't want to do some of the crazy ass spots that AEW does, that's fine. Let AEW, be that promotion who will take those types of risks, who will do the crazy spots that you normally don't get to see on TV, and just go out there and put out a good product in general. And I think Warner Brothers Discovery is content. So as from what I can tell, they're content so far with what they're seeing. So we'll see what happens. I know I saw Okada's contract, and I can see why he didn't go to WWE, because he's getting like
$13.5 million over 3 years, I think. So that ends up being like $4.5 million a year. So
that's definitely something that I wouldn't have seen WWE forking out for him. So
no, I think they value him differently, right? So
yeah. Well, and they would have probably started him in NXT and worked him up through, just to kind of get him accustomed to their style of wrestling, and it makes sense, because their style is very different.
I also think asking the average viewer to pay a bunch of money for a pay-per-view every month where the cards are not going to hold up to some of the cards of the past when it used to only be 4 pay-per-views a year is a big ask. You can have as big of a roster as you want, but like you need some story progression, and some of these things, a reason to care about the matches more than just a dream match. Like, yeah, I think Bryan Danielson and Ospreay is an exception to that, obviously. But there's only so many exceptions to that. There's only so many dream matchups, right? So hopefully they get a streaming deal, because like I can tell you, I don't pay for it anymore. I can't afford it. If they put on a really good big card, I will, but like their last card didn't even have Adam Copeland on it, right? Like it's like I think there's certain guys that need to be featured on every pay-per-view card, or at least most of them. And I just don't think it's worth the money it cost up here, anyways, in Canada, to do one a month. But yet I understand from a business perspective why they're doing it. We'll end the show with this, because I can hear my kids acting up and my wife doing her best to maintain them. We'll end it with this. So night 1 Mania, we have Rock and Roman versus Cody and Seth. I think a lot of people thought the stipulation was going to be, if Rock and Roman win, it'd be Rock versus Roman on night 2, and then Cody would have to do whatever. If Cody wins, then it'd be Cody versus Roman. That's not the stipulation. The stipulation is, which is good because it makes night 1 less predictable, is if Cody and Seth win, you have the Bloodlines just out, including The Rock, no involvement whatsoever in their match on night 2. But if Rock and Roman win, then The Rock, as he said, is going to go through, high and hell water or whatever. He's going to do anything he can possible to make sure that Cody Rhodes does not leave champion. With that being said, give me the prediction of night 1 and give me the prediction for night 2. Matt, go ahead.
I still think it's going to be predictable. Only thing, I think Cody wins in the end.
Oh, what's the night 1 result?
Rock and Roman win. They're not going to make it easy for him. They're going to make it hard. But some way, somehow, I think Cody ends up winning in the end, finishing his story.
Randy?
So I'm going to go back to the SmackDown when The Rock actually brought this all up. There were visual cues about just the way Roman looked at The Rock and how Rock was taking control, but also how The Rock reacted to Roman wanting to say, "Acknowledge me." And it was just like, so you could tell there's tension there. I do think on night 1, you're going to see Roman and The Rock win. But what I think is going to happen is night 2, The Rock will somehow factor into Cody beating Roman, so that we end up seeing the bloodline kind of start to fall apart, and we get our story that leads up to Rock versus Roman. I think we're going to see little things throughout until Mania, since Mania is really not that far off, but it's just I think that's exactly what we're going to get. I think this is what they're doing to set up a way to have Rock somehow, whether it's indirectly or directly, cost Roman the title, and then we get their story. But yeah, I think that's just how it's going to go.
My prediction is Rock and Roman go over in night 1. I don't think you're having those two lose to Cody and Seth. And then night 2 is going to be, I don't think it'll be clean at all. I think it's going to be an absolute shit show and put everyone on the table for possibly interfering in that thing. Everyone from the Bloodline to The Rock to Stone Cold to even CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, Seth Rollins, anything. Because guess what? If Rock and Roman win night 1, I would not be shocked to see The Rock have involvement in Seth losing to Drew on night 2. Like, I think that this has the potential to be just some wildly basket case fucking nut show of an ending for WrestleMania night 2. But I think it starts off with the deck being stacked against Cody, because you think he loses night 1, however it happens, and then Seth loses his title earlier in night 2. Like, the writing's on the wall. Cody should lose, right? Well, what's going to prevent that from happening? We'll have to wait and see. I like the idea that The Rock inadvertently causes it or intentionally causes it. Maybe not intentionally causes it, because then it makes everything that we're seeing right now less meaningful and impactful, in my opinion. But I just think it's going to be just a shit show of interference and just all sorts of games. And it's going to be wildly entertaining and ridiculous. Speaking of which, this episode was a little bit ridiculous. 94 minutes, 52 seconds in on this Sunday afternoon. Big thanks to Tommy B, who joined us earlier. Big thanks in the chat to our moderators, Matt Whitfield, Jade, Rachel. I believe Sham was here earlier. I think Brittany might have been here earlier. Dean was definitely here earlier. Shout out to everybody again for coming and joining us on this Sunday afternoon. We'll have a lot more on the Halloween TV series tomorrow night on Tonight in Haddonfield, where we'll be joined by Matt Fauci as our special guest with Dean and myself. And then, honestly, we got so much more coming this week. We have the Legacy of Star Wars on Tuesday. House of the Empire is also on Monday. And if you missed it last week, we are doing a Halloween mask giveaway. There's going to be a Rob Zombie mask worked on live on the channel by Chris Christensen, professional mask maker, member of the staff here at Fandom Empire. He's going to be doing streams. I believe we decided it's starting April the 8th. We're going to sit down and do our first stream where he takes up the majority of the window. Bloody hell. And Dean and I will be down in a little corner talking Halloween and asking him questions as he's crafting that wonderful mask we just seen on screen. In order to enter right now, there's only one way to do that. You head on over to the Legacy of Halloween YouTube channel. Not this one, Legacy of Halloween YouTube channel. You head on over there, and all you have to do is subscribe to the channel and comment on any video whatsoever. And if you've done that from March 1st or later, you're automatically entered to qualify to win that mask that Chris will be working on live on the channel. And on Monday night, tomorrow night, we'll give you another way that you can enter to give yourself two possible names, or yourself your own name in the draw more than once to give yourself the best shot at winning. Anyways, you want more content, patreon.com/Fandom Empire. Big thanks, Randy. Where can everybody find you at? What do you got going on, man?
At on X, Twitter, whatever. It's at Giggity Giles. We've taken a little bit of a break after the Super Bowl, but hopefully with March Madness starting up soon, the sports brew will be getting back at it. And that's really all I got going on right now.
Go Duke.
I'm a Duke guy. I'm with you on that one, Matt. Matt, where can everybody find you at, dude?
Most of the time on my bed asleep.
Or in your chair.
Do what? I
said, or in your chair.
No, I'm just usually around. You can find me on I comment here and there on the Fandom websites. Pages, mostly the Halloween one, but it's not hard to find me.
It's not hard to find him. There you have it, Mr. Whitfield. Classy as always. Big thanks to Tommy for joining us earlier in the show. Again, House of the Empire, tomorrow night. Don't have a start time for that yet. Tonight in Haddonfield, live at 9 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. Legacy of Star Wars, 9 p.m. And again, if you're a Star Wars fan, there's a chance that the Acolyte trailer may drop tonight or tomorrow morning. And if not, it's definitely coming soon. It's already been approved and rated, and we're just waiting for it to drop at this point. So stay tuned for that. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good shit. Happy Sunday. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll see you next time.